Okay, welcome in everyone, one and all, to our technically first ever episode of a podcast we are now calling Football Clowns Anonymous, or FCA for short. My name is Ren Smith. I'm the co-host of the show, and I'm here with, as always, with my co-host, Kurtis Pinkney.
You're
joining us from Buffalo, New York. And we have this is a little history. We previously branded ourselves as Two Clowns, One Sports Book, a little side project we did towards the end of the 2023 NFL season. We decided we were going to rebrand ourselves, rebrand the show a little bit. We're still going to talk bets. We're still going to talk predictions. We're still going to speculate and do all of those fun things, but we're not going to make the show only a sort of spend the whole hour talking about spreads. And now we're going to kind of dive in a little bit more to what's on our minds, what's the sort of hot button topics going on in the NFL, and we'll kind of see where things take us.
Yeah, I mean the sports betting is cool, and I mean we do a lot of betting on the side, and talk bets and all that fun stuff. But I mean the core of our discussions that we have offline have always centered around who's doing what, moves that are being made. Ren, what do you think about that? Ren, that's a terrible take. You got to stop thinking like that, bro. So we figured we'd just bring that to the pod and see where it takes us. Expand a little bit, expand our horizons.
Definitely. So we're not just so instead we're still doing a lot of the same stuff, but we're just kind of taking a step back and being a little bit more broad with the take. And I think it's safe to say that, just stepping through one game at a time is, I mean, it's interesting, but there's just some games where we're just like, we can't get off the topic fast enough. And it's like, I think we'll be much happier just kind of going with the flow, seeing kind of where the discussion takes us more naturally. So, during the season this is our first episode of this new sort of rebrand. This is July 2024. We're getting ourselves warmed up right now. We're planning to post ourselves on YouTube, so that's a weird concept, and we'll kind of see where that takes us to. Hopefully,
terrifying.
Yeah, still have a presence on Spotify, and at some point maybe we'll set up some social media. If you're watching this and you're interested, I just want to I want to get used to saying this. I guess I don't know how many people will watch this, but if you have questions, feedback, suggestions, anything like that, feel free to send them to footballclownsanonymous@gmail.com, and we will hopefully check them, check your comments. Remember that that's a real email account too. But at least we've got a point of contact now at this point for that as well. So anything else I'm missing here, Kurtis, co-host?
Oh man, I don't know, man. Let's just go ahead and get into this football. It's been a while since we've chatted.
For sure. I think so. Yeah. So I think in this episode, so like I said, during the season, we'll talk about our takes. We'll talk about some bets that we want to make and things like that. Right now, we have wanted for probably, I don't know, what would you say, the last 4 months or so, have wanted to do a free agency episode, because this year's free agency was off the rails. And there's a lot of huge ticket players at new teams. Just to dive into that, kind of see where we think everything lands. How does everything shape up for the season? But just, how does it shape up for these individual teams too? So yeah, I think we're just going to kind of drop right into it. Last week, we had a non-recorded episode where we talked about Kirk Cousins for about 30 minutes. So I think we should just drag and drop that conversation in here, press play, and
natural. I mean, so for our longtime fans, y'all know that Ren is a Vikings fan. So the Kirk Cousins news was, we had a lot of chats on the side to talk about how we feel. But let's bring it to what's your thoughts, man? Kirk Cousins to the Falcons? We also got to follow up with the Falcons taking Michael Penix Jr. at pick 8. Kind of wild after you give $180 million to Kirk Cousins to come and play quarterback for you. What's your feelings?
I believe you called that the stupid bag last week. I don't know where you come up with these things.
Stupid bag for somebody $180 million
for somebody that's won a single playoff game in his entire
coming
career.
coming off the Achilles.
And well, that too. Yeah. And he's 30, what? So, I mean, so overall I can answer this two ways. As an NFL fan, I totally get it. As a Vikings fan, it's bittersweet because I think that in many respects, Kirk Cousins, for as much as I did complain at him or about him at times during his Vikings career, did give us a legitimately good chance of winning games. And I don't know that he was ever going to turn that corner and was going to get us that Super Bowl. I don't know that I believe that. That being said, as a quarterback in that offense where we had, a good running game for a long time there until last year, and the receiver room is really good. He's kind of a set it and forget it type. He's not a top 5 quarterback, but he's a set it and forget it type of piece. I feel like he's not a top 5 quarterback. You're not going to tell me he's a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
You're not. We can squabble. He's in the top.
It sounded offensive. It sounded offensive, but it's on second thought, that's okay.
I'm not gonna. I mean, he's not a bottom 10 quarterback either, but he's close to the middle, little on the high side of the middle. I would say is where he falls to me. But anyway,
I would have that.
But he's a set it and forget it type of piece. So anyway, it's a business, right? Am I excited that we got a quarterback in the first round? Theoretically, yes. I hope that it pans out and works out that way. And so if he ends up being at least what Kirk Cousins was, then obviously this was a great move. We're going to need to wait a couple of years. And unfortunately, I think the move in the short term has plunged us into the dark ages. For the Falcons, I don't know how much it does. And it does even less. I mean, it helps for sure because they didn't really have a quarterback position at all last year. But they really didn't help themselves this year at all by taking Penix at, was it 8?
Right.
Yeah, it was 8.
Yeah.
By not giving him a skill position player on the offense to help themselves this year. And so you have to kind of wonder what they were thinking.
Well, I mean, I would push back on that a smidge. I mean, they did also bring in Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore. You got Drake London there as an incumbent, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. I mean, Kirk Cousins is set up for all kinds of success in Atlanta. I mean, you would maybe want to see some more help on the offensive line, maybe something on defense. But
I guess they didn't take the opportunity to make themselves even better this year.
Right.
Is more what I said. Like a top Cousins,
yeah.
and you have. I heard this is partially. I'm taking this from some other talking head, but you're never with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. You're almost never gonna get a top 10 pick. Because you are going to be consistently in the middle of the pack of the NFL. So this is your opportunity with Kirk Cousins and with these other pieces, like you said, a couple of up-and-coming players. And Bijan Robinson is phenomenal.
That guy.
You get an opportunity. Yeah, you get an opportunity. Even if you take somebody on defense, you really get an opportunity to propel your team forward to a playoff position this year. Sure. And that's a missed opportunity. Now you never know. The Packers took Jordan Love a few years.
But that's also assuming the rookie is going to come in and be a day one, dominant player. Like that's not a guarantee. Like I think that is maybe lost in the argument a little bit. Obviously there's a higher success probability. The higher the draft pick, but it's not a guarantee. Like so, I think But I mean, if you're going to try and future-proof the way that the Falcons are doing, they took. How old is Penix? What is he? 28.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's older than
crazy. Yeah, he's old as hell. Like, respectfully, like he's kind of old for a rookie quarterback, and if he's meant to sit for 3-4 years, that's kind of a wild move. So I don't know. Like it's a weird pick for sure. I will say one thought that I have with respect to the Vikings getting rid of Cousins, because it's very, very real potential that 2-3 years from now we're looking back on that move kind of goofy. However, paying a 33, 34, whatever he is, year old quarterback $180 million coming off the Achilles, that's also like a very real scenario for somebody to look back on and be like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, either way, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You also had to pay Jefferson too, which I'd rather than pay Jefferson as a Vikings fan.
So I mean, this move, it allows the Vikings to, take advantage of the model that is becoming very popular. Bring in a rookie quarterback, pay all the pieces around him, and hope you can get to a reasonable team, deep playoff run, Super Bowl run within the next 3-4 years.
It sounds great. It sounds great to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to make you feel better right now.
No, I understand, and I mean, I think the one thing, and I was just telling this to my dad actually earlier. Not that is a relevant detail here, but the thing I worry about is the impatience of Vikings fans, because right now our quarterback is going to be Sam Darnold in week 1, and if he comes out and plays great, I'm super happy. In the likely scenario that he doesn't, we Vikings fans are going to be very impatient for JJ by week 6, week 8, week 10, something like that. Now let's go back and think about, and this is, you can never map 1-1.
And we already discussed the schedule, the opening schedule for the Vikings.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful. We have to we play the Giants week 1, which is winnable. We have like the Texans, the Niners, the Texans, and then
I heard on a
Lions are in there.
That you guys aren't favored for the first 9 games.
I don't think we should.
You are not favored against the Giants.
We shouldn't be. It's a road game, and they picked up Malik Neighbors, and Daniel Jones he's got something to prove. He's not been playing well. I said last week he's playing for his job. You said he just got the bag. I get it. I'm not saying he's playing for pride then, because he has not shown himself yet to be that guy. He's not. He won a playoff game.
He's probably playing for his job. Yeah, I mean, you're almost certainly right, but
it may not be this year, but it's certainly next year, like that he's playing for his job. So he's got it. So anyway, my point is, and the Vikings have a new quarterback, and they have a new running back, and that game is set up for the Vikings to just get steamrolled. Even though I don't think the Giants are significantly better than the Vikings, they may not even be better than them on paper right now.
I don't think they are.
I think the Giants are going to win that game. That's just, and also think the hype. Think of the hype in the Meadowlands where everybody's like the Giants. They win game 1, handedly.
I'll definitely be placing a small bet on the Giants for sure.
You should. You absolutely should. They're going to win the game. They're going to beat the Vikings in week 1, and not only that, but then the Vikings have to go and play San Francisco at home. They have to play C.J. Stroud. I think both of those games might actually be at home, which is lucky. But they've got to also play at Lambeau. They've got to play, I think, at Ford Field against the Lions. They have the Jets in London. That they gave up one of their home games to play the Jets in London. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to kick our ass because he's been doing it for a decade. I think actually more. So anyway, this is all to say that Vikings fans are going to be impatient for JJ McCarthy way too soon. And I'm going to say that it's probably going to be me too, because I'm going to be sick of Sam Darnold by week 6 when I see all of these superior teams beating the shit out of us. I'm going to be ready for JJ McCarthy also. But here's another thing, and not that we can ever 1-to-1, but Jordan Love was drafted in 2020 during the COVID draft lockdown quarantine thing. He didn't play. He wasn't the designated starter until last year. He sat on the bench behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, and then he came in and he was that guy. There's something about this where you have to wonder, is there such a thing as putting in a rookie too early? Even if he's got promise, even if you think he increases your odds of winning, can you ruin him by putting him in too early? What do you think?
I think the answer is yes, but it is also very situational. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the pain that you as a Vikings fan hold in your heart. That was on the couch with Ren Smith.
Thank you. Thank you for being.
We all felt that. We all felt that one.
Yeah. Can we make this a segment every week in the regular season? Because that we're going to need on the couch with Ren Smith after the Vikings lose, which is going to happen almost every week.
That's definitely going to be a segment, because you, unprompted, sir, just sad. It's sad. You see your friends that are down like this, and you just want them to be better, but
Do you though?
What can you do?
Do you?
What can you do?
Yeah, that's
But
that's. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
yeah, so we going through the quarterbacks here. We just have a couple more bullets here on noteworthy picks or noteworthy moves here. We have Hot Dog Wilson and Justin Fields going to the Steelers, and the other note that I wanted to make was Baker Mayfield staying with the Bucs. I think that probably should be in the under the radar move because I feel like not too many people are talking about that. But let's talk about Russ and Justin going to and Mr. Fields going to the Steelers.
Yeah, go. You should take this one. You should take this one. I feel like I've been talking like 75% of the time so far. You're up.
So I mean, how do we feel about so they bring in honestly from a Steelers management point of view is brilliant. They bring in Russ. The Broncos are paying him just about everything on his contract. They've got to pay him like $1 million or something crazy. Justin Fields is still on the rookie contract. So they get two, very like Russell Wilson was looking like a Hall of Famer for a half a minute there. Justin Fields, question mark on if he's a promising, prospect, the promising prospect that he was, anticipated to be. You get both of them cheap to find out. I don't see it as a lose for the Steelers in any form or fashion. I mean, you move on from a quarterback who you don't really see much potential in. You're kind of I wouldn't say they're rebuilding, but they're definitely there's room to add some pieces around the quarterback that they decide to choose. And I mean, the offensive scheme you could put in place is probably similar-ish for either quarterback. I kind of dig the move for the Steelers. The Broncos, egg on your face for sure. The Bears, I wonder why they didn't surround Justin Fields with the same kind of talent that they're surrounding Caleb Williams. I'm sure there is, history in terms of salaries and contracts and whatnots that prevented them from doing so, but it's just kind of interesting to see. And this is where our ignorance as the casual armchair fan comes in as to why Caleb Williams is getting this red carpet treatment and Justin Fields is not. But just kind of an interesting, observation. I don't really know what to make of it, but I mean that's kind of where I'm at. Big W for the Steelers. Only for a fourth too. Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I tend to agree. I mean, they waited on, or I guess the Bears waited on Fields for way too long, and they ended up selling him for like a bag of footballs or something like that. Like they ended up giving up, or they ended up getting nothing for Fields, which is amazing considering I think he was the number 2 pick, 2, 3, something like that. And so how the mighty have fallen on this. It's just it's kind of amazing to me. And he's not even he's not really. I don't even think he will start. He's definitely not a guaranteed starter. I think that it's probably going to end up for us.
6th round pick. Holy cow!
Yeah, like nothing. They didn't. They waited too long. There were a lot of quarterbacks that were moving, or there were quarterbacks that were moving around earlier, and the Bears didn't jump on that bandwagon. And all of a sudden, they realized, well, we're about to draft Caleb Williams. We don't need this guy. But honestly, for that price, they should have held on to him. He's not worth anything, anyways. You might as well hang on to him and have him be a flash in the pan backup if Caleb Williams has got to miss 3 weeks or something like that. So I don't really understand that move, but I do agree that it's a win for the Steelers. I will say I don't know if the Steelers have upgraded. It's crazy for me to say this. I don't know if the Steelers have upgraded at the quarterback position because in terms of the quarterback play, they've definitely upgraded their prospect. But will
I know for sure is a wild amount of disrespect.
It is a wild amount of disrespect. Can you watch Russell Wilson in the last 2 years and tell me for sure that he's going to be good this year? What have you seen that says tells you? Right. I mean, so I know it's a wild amount of disrespect, but I mean, we're calling a spade here. He fell from grace after he left the Seahawks, and I haven't seen anything that would suggest that he's I haven't seen anything that would suggest that he's definitely going to be good as a Steeler. I don't know. And especially, I'll say this too, maybe in his old age, it's a little bit different and his sort of changing style of play. But some of those early years that he had with Seattle, where he was much more of a mobile quarterback and things like that, this is not the Pittsburgh Steelers. If there's one thing that's true about the Steelers, they have played the same brand of football for 40 years. It is that grind it out, rough and tough. We're going to win the game by a field goal we're going to win 19-16 with zeros on the clock. We're going to grind it out. We're going to play better on defense. We're going to control the clock. We're going to have a good run game.
I generally agree with that, but I mean, what was the Legion of Boom version of Seattle? Like that's a out defense.
I'll give you
got
that.
Beast mode in the back. You had Tyler Lockett, of course, and I can't remember his name.
Too early
the
for
other.
that.
What's that? No, too early from. It's not. It's gonna drive me nuts. We'll get back to that, but we had old Mr. Reliable and then Tyler Lockett, old Mr. Reliable. But I mean, it wasn't necessarily like, yeah, Russ was making his crazy circus acrobat throws and whatnot, but like I don't ever remember like this offense being blow the doors off, so. I guess I would push back a little there, saying that the Steelers couldn't throw together an offense for him. And I know Arthur Smith obviously catches a lot of flack for the gross mistreatment of the fantasy assets in Atlanta, but around the league, from what I can tell, he is a fairly highly regarded offensive mind. So I am hesitant to cast that out as a negative for that Steelers offense. Well, we'll see. Of course, I don't know, but
I think we'll have to see for sure. I am very interested to see how that plays out. Like I think that's a really, really interesting bring out the popcorn type of moment as we're coming into the season. Even in the preseason, let's see what they do. I mean, let's see who they put in. I don't know. I mean,
1,000, because they're also talking about Fields doing like kickoff returns and all kinds of crazy gadgetry kind of stuff. I'm curious if those rumors pan out or not. I suspect not, but if they do,
having your backup quarterback return kicks, having a backup quarterback return kicks is a move.
Because they also brought in Cordero Patterson.
Oh, he should be returning kick. I don't even care if he's 47. He should be returning kicks.
That boy a dog.
He is. He's
a dog.
He should be returning kicks even if he's 47. So
100%.
That's what I think about that. All right, we should move on from. We can talk about these forever. We got some really interesting running back relocations as well. In no particular order. In no particular order here. As you may remember from our earlier, the OG fans, as you said, or whatever, will remember that Kurtis is a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, regrettably. Saquon Barkley is now an Eagle. How are we feeling about this, sir?
Elated. That boy is a dog. Saquads, come on, bro. He's been terrorizing us for X amount of years now. Saquon on the Eagles is beautiful. There's the arguments, the thought that, he's just the explosive play guy, that he's 1 to 2 a carry, and then he just hits the home runs. It might be true, but I would also argue he's never played behind an offensive line like he's got now.
That's true.
He doesn't have a dynamic quarterback and offense around him he's never had a dynamic quarterback and offense around him like he does now.
That's wild disrespect to Daniel Jones. I'm joking. Keep going.
It's the appropriate amount of respect. That boy a bum. So I don't know. It's the automatic and I think the correct reaction. You got to be excited. There's no other react. Like, yes, you could try and poo-poo it and this and that, and Saquon's that and this, but there's no way that if Saquon landed on any of the other 31 teams in the league, there's no way that fan base would not be excited. So yeah, that's it. It is what it is. I'm very excited to see how it turns out.
I
mean,
I think it can only be a win for you, and and he fits his style of play, that sort of ground and pound type of grind the rock 20 or 25 carries game kind of thing really has always complemented the rushing of Jalen Hurts then too. You've got the dual threat then in the backfield with having a running quarterback and an elite, at least formerly elite. I would say he's probably still elite until proven not running back.
Yeah. And also, like, shout out to Howie Roseman, man. That man is playing chess when everybody's playing checkers. All the league is zigging on running back, so he decided to zag. Got Saquon Barkley on the cheap. Everybody's paying $35 million for wide receivers and what have ye, and he locked up A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith on the cheap. Howie Roseman, that guy, bro. Howie Roseman is a dog. There's a gold jacket in his future for sure. For sure.
You want to save that for you want to save that for your wild prediction at the end of the podcast?
No, that's not a wild prediction. So that I'll wrap up my glazing by saying that is 100% guarantee that he gets a gold jacket for sure. I'm done. I'm done. I'm just saying. Howie Roseman and Howie we trust.
That's it. Are you going to make I want you to make, you know what? I know we're not onto the teams yet, but I want you to make a wild prediction about the Eagles this year because, as you may remember, the Eagles were the 1 seed in the NFC for the majority of last season, and then they decided we don't play football good anymore.
Yeah, and so the offense as a whole, I don't have the same resounding optimism that I do for Saquon Barkley. We'll just there are question marks that need to be answered.
We talked about this last week actually about the Eagles winning the division, but let's save that for a later episode because actually in a couple weeks we have win totals and stuff like that we want to break down for the different teams, over unders on win totals. We should also throw in divisions, who's going to win each division, that kind of thing too. So let's save that for that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we have another. Well, let's move up King Henry to the Ravens. This is the long time Tennessee Titan Derrick Henry has relocated to play with Lamar Jackson. I was going to say, are the Ravens a Super Bowl contender? They already were. They were before.
Automatic.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, they probably should have gone to the Super Bowl by the way that their regular season went. So that's a stupid question to frame it like that. But I mean, how can they not, other than Mahomes and the Chiefs just somehow figuring out how to win games in the playoffs, how can they not make the Super Bowl this year? How can the Ravens not make the Super Bowl this year? Because Derrick Henry is a although he's getting older, I think it brings that really home. I mean, they've been kind of on a rotating wheel for the last. I mean, I know they have J.K. Dobbins, and I'm assuming that he's healthy again.
He is not with the Ravens anymore.
Oh, he's not. Okay, all right.
I believe he went to the Chargers.
I'm getting exposed on YouTube right now for not knowing if I'm on YouTube, I got to know my stuff, right?
We got to get that together. I had to fact check myself. I was like, wait a minute, did he? But he's with the Chargers right now. So the answer to your question is, how do they not get to the Super Bowl? There's 3 answers, I think, to that question. First and foremost, Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. You mentioned them. Yep. Until further notice, the AFC goes through them. 2, they were pretty much like the last year's Ravens were the best version of the Ravens that we've seen, and they did not make it to the Super Bowl. You can make the argument, it's the first year with who's their offensive coordinator? God damn it.
I forget
the guys from Georgia, I believe. Todd Monken, I believe.
I can't. Yep.
But it is the first year with the with that offensive scheme. So
with that in mind, kudos to them, though. I mean, they played a great season.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So I mean, in theory, maybe it's a plus that they're in year 2. And 3, you already kind of alluded to it, but King Henry's age, bro, like the amount of carries that he has on his body. Like I saw a thing on Instagram the other day talking about the carries he had in high school through, now. It's absurd. Like he's a freak of nature. Like call a spade a spade. Like, so is he going to break down?
Is he going to break? Yeah. Is he going to just essentially just fall apart? Like, is he going to get 3 injuries this year on the same play?
I mean, if he was literally anybody else, almost certainly. But that's King Henry, bro. Like that's one of those guys. Like, you just bet on him until you don't. Like, I don't.
Until you don't.
Like,
Tell me, Kurtis, when should I stop? When should I stop betting on him?
When he tells you to stop, that's King Henry, bro.
That's true.
He makes the rules.
Mm-hmm.
He's that guy, bro. So like, I'm not going to be the one to bet against him, but I would understand if you did. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that is probably the biggest weakness in terms of the Ravens running game, of course. But I mean, they've got reason for optimism elsewhere. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman is still hanging around. Mark Andrews, hopefully healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I don't know. I feel like he hasn't been healthy for a while, but
yeah, it's a good offense. I guess if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm hoping that this is the sort of stability at running back. But again, the age of Henry and the injury he becomes. Although I'm not understanding, or as I understand, he hasn't battled injuries all that much over his career. That being said, at some point you got to assume.
Also crazy.
Yeah, at some point you got to assume that the dam is going to break on this one, and with his age, and so he's a freak of nature. Doesn't make any sense. Might be actually a cyborg, but like you said, until further notice, and this is why I say, like, how can this not make them better? If he looks like the King Henry that we have come to expect, then that stability at running back is something they haven't had in the last couple of years. With an otherwise amazing offense, they've been rotating back between Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, these kind of almost like throwaway guys. Yeah, it's kind of wild to me. So I'm hoping for them, again, if I'm a Ravens fan, that also somebody needs to. This is just my personal opinion. Somebody needs to beat the Chiefs. I mean, people do beat the Chiefs, but they're the new Patriots. Can we say that?
I will say, I need to see the three-peat in my lifetime. I kind of need to see the three-peat. That would be pretty hard. Hey, son, let me sit you down and talk about how Pat Mahomes executed that three-peat with Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce's out here dating Taylor Swift, and they did that after he got rid of Pat Mahomes' top receiver. Pat Mahomes out here throwing to the cashier at Wegmans with the three-peat.
He hasn't had a receiver. That's the crazy thing. He hasn't had a receiver. I mean, maybe Rashee Rice is finally the answer.
He's gonna get suspended, bro. Like, what are we doing? He's out here crashing Lambos and whatnot.
You're right.
Goofy mode, bro.
They haven't had a receiver. They haven't had a wide receiver one in that room. That's why I say the Chiefs are the new Patriots. Now, we've talked about this. Are we as pissed about it as we were at that time? And at this moment, I'm not. And maybe it's because as I grow to be older, when I was younger and I was a Vikings fan in my teens, I was pissed off at the Patriots for always winning Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Now, justifiably so. And I think if the Patriots end up winning 6 Super Bowls in 20 years, if the Chiefs do, I will also end up being pissed at them in hindsight as well. That being said, in my older age, I'm not that old, but in my older age, I've come to appreciate just how amazing it was to watch Tom Brady just decimate the league in the playoffs year in and year out. He wasn't just that guy. He was that guy of that guys. Like he is still him. And the Chiefs are that because also I feel like Tom Brady did it with all kinds of wide receivers too. I'm not going to say he never had a wide receiver one, but he made any schmo wide receiver, some wide receiver 3, he could make them look like a wide receiver 1. That's how good he was. Patrick Mahomes is doing the exact same thing. They don't make sense in the playoffs. They find ways to win games, even when they stumble around all year. Again, it's the same thing as the Patriots. They stumble around all year. They somehow win their division. They get a home game, and they win the Super Bowl. It doesn't even matter. So I'm off topic now, but
par for the course.
It is par for the course. That's what we do here. This is why we're warming up, right? So I can't.
So this
I can't not.
the title of this episode is going to be Free Agents ?
Free agent. We talked about free agents at least once, maybe.
Kinda, yeah.
That's
we're deep in our list, and we had a whole show done. We're not getting through all this, but
no. I mean, we still got about a half hour, so we can make a little more room here. We still got 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. Okay, we got a lot. We got a lot of room still.
So the last 2 running backs, and I'm gonna ask you for the fans. I know you're gonna want to either. I'm not really sure what your reaction is to this, but we got Josh Jacobs to the Packers and then Aaron Jones to the Vikings. Now we know Ren is a Vikings fan. I would think we're happy about Aaron Jones. I'm not sure how you feel about Jacobs to the Packers. What's going on, man?
To be honest with you, I've thought about Aaron Jones to the Vikings, and in general, I am happy about that. To be honest with you, I haven't paid a lot of mind to Jacobs to the Packers, and I say that because he's a great running back, but they've always had a great running back. They've always had Aaron Jones on their team, and so I feel like I don't know that it's necessarily an upgrade to them in terms of this season, and so I would like for them to have no running back, but they went from having a good running back to having a good running back. That's how I see the move for the Packers. Is it a bad move for them? Is it a bad move for them? Certainly not. But
I think the plus for them in this regard is that Aaron Jones, what did he touch the ball 15 times a game, maybe 20 on a tough game, like Josh Jacobs is built to take the rock like 20 to 25 to, well, I don't know if he's built for it, but that's what he was doing in Vegas. He was carrying the load, basically that level of skill is now on the field for 5 to 10 more plays a game, as opposed to Aaron Jones was probably going to rotate with AJ Dillon or other. I know they still got Dillon there, but
I wouldn't be surprised if Dillon rotates in there a little bit, even with Jacobs on the team. To maybe a lesser extent. I was
going to say because Dillon was getting 10 to 15 touches. 10 it seemed to be about the average, but I would guess he's probably going to be down around that 5-ish touches a game range, with Jacobs in there. So I'm thinking they're trying to establish, a true RB1 into their system. Whereas, the con for, the Vikings fans is, you see that RB1 on the field more often as opposed to Aaron Jones, who, even though he's still probably going to put up 3 touchdowns on you and 200 yards, because hashtag that guy, he's only gonna have 15 opportunities to do it. So that's the only kind of trade-off I see.
I see it as a relatively incremental upgrade for them, not a giant step. It's not a giant step for them. I mean, it is. I think it is a slight upgrade, so I think they should be happy about it. I'm happy that I think the upgrade for us is better than the upgrade for them, and I say that compared to last year because we had Madison
100%, 100%,
and that was a failed experiment, very much so. Madison was good in relief of Dalvin Cook until Dalvin Cook left. And then Madison was not any good. And I kind of saw that coming, but I don't have any proof of that. So it doesn't matter at this point. Regardless, we needed a running back. And so this all kind of plays into the fact that this is a great situation for a young quarterback like JJ McCarthy. And hell, even Sam Darnold is still relatively young to come into and have success. You've got the guy on wide receiver. And now you have a running back who is good and is good for those 15 or 20 touches a game. He can also be a safety valve for you to drop the ball off to, unlike Adrian Peterson used to be, who would just drop the ball, hit him between the hands and drop it. So, that having that pass catching running back, it essentially gives us Dalvin Cook back, although doesn't really doesn't get us any youth, I guess. But it essentially gives us that Dalvin Cook sort of Swiss Army knife back. So that makes me really happy.
With the same injury risk.
That's true. Yeah, and Aaron Jones has been chronically unhealthy, but so is Dalvin Cook. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I'm just more depressed about Jordan Love actually being good for the Packers, as he showed in the playoffs. And this division is going to be impossible to play against. But we're not here talking about this is not Ren on the couch segment anymore. Or what was it? Ren on the
cut that out, bro. You got one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was trying to remember what the name of the segment was, but anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're done with that. Let's move on to some wide receivers here. Okay, so you had Mayfield stays with the Bucs, you got Evans stays with the Bucs. There's some interesting theme here, basically. Where you got these players who are staying with the Bucs.
I found it fascinating that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were like, let's go ahead and run this back. Because I was kind of perusing over their team moves for the 2024 offseason, and basically the theme was continuity. Like it was interesting that, Mike Evans, need I say more? That boy, a dog. How many consecutive 1,000-yard seasons at this point? What is it, 9? I think he's creeping up on double digits for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
I think that's
Come
right.
on, bro. Certified dog on the field, bro. Like he's locked in. So that makes sense. That it was actually, I believe, his decision to stay with the Bucs. Yeah, obviously they wanted him, and he probably had his pick of where he wanted to go, and he decided to stay. Baker stays. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch because Baker Mayfield was out here slanging the rock last year. Like it was low key, but he was slanging that pill, bro. Like Baker Mayfield's kind of sort of that guy, and he's kind of fun to watch. When he is positive. He's a very he seems to be. I don't know the man, obviously. He seems to be a very energy motivated, energy forward kind of individual. So the reason I noted those two moves is because I just, the football fan in me is kind of interested in watching that, watching round 2 of what the Bucs got to offer.
For sure. And I mean, it's a pretty darn soft division too that they get to play against. And so that there's a question there of like, what are, they won the NFC South last year, and, you get a home playoff game, anything can happen. Right. I mean, I think that they have a relatively easy path to stay at least relevant. But if not, they have a chance to move up. And there has to be something to be said. I think I make this argument in hockey more than I do in football, but there has to be something to be said for guys staying together and developing that chemistry from a year in and year out basis. Now Baker's got something going with the Bucs, and I think there's no reason to suggest that that's not going to continue to, again, at least stay relevant. I'm not saying they're not going to win, 13 games this year, but I bet you that I could see them winning 10 pretty easily. I'm jumping ahead to the season win totals, but that's a later episode. But I do agree, it's a really interesting move. How old is Evans now? I feel like he's actually quite old now, but I think in his mid 30s.
I want to say 31, 32.
I thought he was more in his mid 30s, but although mid
30. He's 30 years old.
Oh, all right. He's still got a little tread on the tires then.
Yeah, that's
not
crazy.
Much, but a little.
Yeah, but so I mean that's kind of why I wanted to touch on the Bucs. But I think the most interesting move at receiver this year was Calvin Ridley to the Titans. And I think it was the most interesting move because of the contract they gave him. So from what I understand, the Titans were one of the more they had one of the highest amount of wiggle room with their cap scenario. So they were throwing money all over the place, and they gave Calvin Ridley a lot of money. And I believe Calvin Ridley is also 30 years old. He's getting up there. Yeah. He's had an injury-riddled career.
The journeyman.
He kind of. He had the gambling thing. He's 29. Right. He'll be 30. He'll be 30 in December. But, I don't like. Has he shown us enough to be worth what they paid him? And even contract discussions aside, like, I don't know. I think that I struggle with this because it's kind of clear that the Titans were trying to build their dream team type of thing, but we've seen this move go down in flames quite a few times, and they're building this dream around a quarterback who has definitely shown flashes, but jury's still out.
Right.
I don't know. Like I want the Titans to be nice because I love chaos and I would love to see just more offense from everybody and
Mhm.
Fireworks galore. But I think there are some real question marks like Calvin Ridley and D Hop, like, and then Tyler Boyd is the 3, like 3-4 years ago. That would have sounded crazy.
Right.
Today, like,
Well, any
it's
one of those
cool.
guys could be good on a given week, or they could all three be not that great. I mean, I think the other question too is
Pull a hamstring. Yeah.
well, considering the issues that the Titans have had, sort of just in general, I would say just in general, but the fact that they've had a hard time turning the corner. It's not so much what is Calvin Ridley worth at this moment. It's more what is Calvin Ridley or what is a receiver like Calvin Ridley worth to the Titans specifically. And he may be worth more to the Titans than he may be worth more to the Titans than he would be on another team, simply because they're desperate for anything to work out at this point. Is he a higher probability lottery ticket than a draft pick or something like that? Sure. But or like a rookie wide receiver or something like that. Sure, maybe. But I agree with you. I will believe it when I see it. Basically, I see this move and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll believe it when I see it. The Titans have been trying to figure out, I think their issue is more until proven not guilty, their issue is at quarterback with Will Levis.
Right. And what I've heard of, and so I didn't watch too many Titans games last year, so I can't confirm this with my own eyeballs, but what I've heard is Levis is basically this generation's Jameis Winston. That boy he just slings it downfield, no regard for anything else other than slanging it downfield. And if it works, it's gonna be sweet. Calvin Ridley, D Hop going crazy on the
I was going to say, you
outside
have
with
the
boys
receiving core.
slanging it.
You have the receiving.
Yes.
You have the right
Yes.
receivers to make that work.
Yes.
But you're also going to throw a lot of interceptions. We can't be that can't be the
Yes.
strategy we depend on in 2024.
No, it is not. But it's a lot of fun. And Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears down underneath. I'm not sure who they got. Oh, Chika Okonkwo at tight end, kind of a dog. The Titans could be fun, and the defense is okay, but the Titans, they could be fun. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. Jury's still out.
Jury is very much still out.
They could be. They could also be they could be a 5-win team this year very easily too. Just like kind of what we would expect them to be based on watching them last season. So we'll see.
Yeah. Only other receiver move that we wanted to that I kind of wanted to touch on. Maybe this could have been an under the radar move, but Hollywood Brown to the Chiefs. I think this is another one of those ones where I just kind of felt like it's not getting talked about enough. Rashee Rice almost certainly getting a 6-game suspension. 4, 6. I would be surprised if it's only 2. Who else are they throwing to? Travis Kelce. I think they've been pretty open about the fact that they're limiting Kelce's touches because age, and we need him to be ready for the playoffs.
Right.
Who else are they throwing to, man? Like who else? What are the other Chiefs receivers right now?
Is Kadarius Toney still there?
Kadarius Toney's still there, but like was Hollywood? When did Hollywood Brown become a scrub? Like, because I haven't seen it. Like when he's on the field, like there might be some health concerns, sure, but like when he's been on the field, like everybody wants to talk about how Lamar Jackson was a scrub and can't throw the ball, but like when he had Hollywood, he was throwing 1,000-yard seasons to Hollywood. So what? Like I don't understand. So like, and then he gets the best quarterback from a passing perspective that he's ever worked with, and he's irrelevant. Like I don't quite understand the lack of noise around Patrick Mahomes to Hollywood Brown. Am I off base here? Like, maybe am I too casual to understand the complexities of football? Like, what's going on right now?
Well, maybe, but if you are, then so am I. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. No. Here's the thing. They play this certain formation. No. I literally look at the name of the show. Clown. I have a circus backdrop behind me, right? So I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is just one more example to me of the Chiefs' skill positions being a revolving door. And yet, as we talked about, they continue to win Super Bowls. It doesn't matter. Mahomes can elevate whoever. I think Hollywood Brown will be no different than that. Mahomes will elevate him enough for them to stay and compete, for him to fill that gap. But he's interchangeable. To me, at this point, he's relatively interchangeable to Mahomes. And
yeah, so I looked up Hollywood Brown's stats. Let's see. I mean, his stats aren't as great as I remember them being.
now what are we looking at?
We've only got one.
He only has one 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, how did that happen?
What, for him to get 1,000 yards, or for him to never else get never?
Yeah, I don't know, man. In my head, so maybe that. Okay, so the answer to the original question, very much a casual fan. But like in your mind, doesn't he feel like a better receiver than what these stats show? Am I tripping?
Yes. Yeah, I would say so.
Yes, to which part? That he feels better,
he got better.
Yeah.
Well, he got better every year under Lamar Jackson as he got a little older, and then he sucked in Arizona, but Arizona sucked. Well, but Arizona sucks. I mean,
right.
It was a bad football team, especially last year when he had 574 receiving yards last year. They didn't have their quarterback was Josh Dobbs for a couple games. Like they didn't have Kyler Murray back until week 11 or 12 or whatever it was. So I don't think it's a fair assessment. I think
he wasn't very healthy. He wasn't very healthy in Arizona either. He only played 14 games.
The over, I want to know what the over-under on receiving yards for Hollywood Brown is this year, and I would take the over on it. Probably. It depends. Maybe they have a reaction to it. But I think that, if the over-under is like 600 or 700 yards, I might take the over on that. He's got Mahomes throwing to him. Mahomes has got to throw to somebody, and I think he passes the eye test of competence at least. Whether he's put up the numbers, it doesn't seem he's put up big numbers, but he passes the eye test of competence at least.
Right. Agreed. Yeah, well, we'll see how that turns out. I think that'll be a curious one. I would not be surprised to see him go over 1,000 yards, but we'll see how they run that offense.
Yeah. I can't not say this out loud. I'm going to say it out loud, and then we're going to move on because we literally aren't going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about this, but I'm going to say this out loud because you wrote it. Another wide receiver signing, Odell Beckham Jr. to the Dolphins, and then in parentheses, can Prob omit this because I'm not convinced OBJ isn't washed. And moving on. We are not going to talk about it because
so now from there we move on to the under the radar moves that we listed.
Let's do that.
So what we were chatting about was just some what we considered the major moves of the free agency period. I am almost certain we missed some because we're some clowns and we decided to wait until damn near August to talk about free agency, but par for the course.
Kirk, we don't have any listeners, so it doesn't matter. I know we talk about the old time listeners know this and know that. Maybe we'll get some listeners on YouTube. That'd be cool.
Those are our wives. The old time listeners are our wives.
They are our wives.
That's all we got going on.
The over under on views of this video on YouTube 5.5.
Accurate.
So go. Yeah, but anyway.
So I mean, the next section we're gonna hit is the under the radar moves that we thought could be sneaky good for the teams involved. They're not big names that are gonna make a splash in the headlines and all this fun stuff, but let's start at the top. We got Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore to the Falcons. We talk about Kirk Cousins to the Falcons, and they haven't made. We kind of alluded to this one earlier when I was talking about, they brought in Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore. I don't, you don't really see anybody talking about that. Those are some significant weapons for what we would argue is a pretty good quarterback. He might be a, middle of the pack of the top 10, but that's pretty good. Like for the NFL, like
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think it definitely helps.
Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore are not scrubs. Like
No,
whatever.
no,
What's
we
going
talked
on?
about, and you mentioned that Drake London is still on that team too, and he's kind of still up and coming and is looking pretty good. And they've got Bijan Robinson in the backfield now, and yeah, it's a good offense. I mean, for them they need to fix the holes on defense, but that's clearly a move to help them out this year. They still blew it by drafting Penix. That's my opinion, but those signings will definitely help them, I think.
Yeah.
Be better. I mean, and I think they're still a middle of the road team. This Falcons team is not going to be. This Falcons team is not a 13-win team to me. But can they win that division? They're going to compete with the Bucs. They're going to compete with the Bucs in that division and nobody else. Yes, they can win that division, but that's going to be interesting. I think those games against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are going to be particularly interesting to me.
Sure. And I mean, since we're chatting about that division, Deontay Johnson to the Panthers. We haven't talked about the Panthers today.
There's a reason for that. I'm just saying there's a reason for that. No, we should talk about all the teams. I shouldn't say that. We should talk about all the teams.
I mean, to a degree.
Are there enough? Does Deontay Johnson change the dynamic for Bryce Young enough to you?
Deontay Johnson gives something to Bryce Young that he has not had in his first year as playing an NFL quarterback, and that is an open receiver. Deontay Johnson gets open, bro.
That's true.
Like, who is he throwing? He's thrown to old man Thielen, who racked up crazy totals because he was the only one who showed any aptitude for getting open in any kind of capacity on the football field at 30x, 31 years old.
I think he's 33 now. But yeah, anyway. Yeah.
Point. Giving Deontay Johnson to Bryce Young, I think, is going to make Bryce look a lot better than he did last year. Is he going to live up to the draft pedigree and the hype and all that? I don't know. But giving him a solid receiver to show if he can or not, 100% the move. Like, to throw him into that situation with peanuts at receiver last year, wildly disrespectful. And then I know when he saw what Caleb Williams was walking into, I know he was sick. I know he was sick AF, sir.
You would have to be. He had no offense. Deontay Johnson by himself isn't enough. We'll see. Are they going to win?
Enough for what though? Like, I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs. I'm saying Bryce Young is going to look better.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it would make sense. I mean, law of averages would suggest that you should not. There's no way that the Panthers are going to win 2 games again this year. They're going to win more than that, and I say that just based on the law of averages. Excuse me. A team is not prolifically bad like that 2 years in a row, no matter what. So they're not going to be that again. But it's not. I mean,
I suspect that Lions fans will have some words for you.
Or Browns fans.
Or Browns fans.
Yeah, from back in the day. Yep. Go see 10 years ago and see how those teams were doing. Yep. Or Jaguars even 10 years ago. That's true. But anyway, I mean, sure. Okay. So it's a 5-win team this year. I still don't. That's not what you want when you gave up 2 first-round picks for the number 1 overall pick and you took the wrong guy.
Ooh. Strong words. Strong words.
Strong. They're justified.
I agree.
You can't. I mean, yeah. I'm being harsh, but it just is. It is what it is. Now, in fairness, maybe you plug Bryce Young into the Texans, and with that receiving core with Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and maybe he would have looked like that guy too. Who knows? But
he might have. But speaking of the Texans, we also got Joe Mixon going to the Texans, which is an interesting move, and even more interesting because I believe the Texans, as of this morning or recently, signed Cam Akers.
Interesting.
Yes, Joe Mixon from a fantasy perspective, Ren and I play fantasy, so we look at football through a fantasy lens quite often. Joe Mixon has been a top 12, top 10 running back, I believe, each of the last 5 seasons, question mark. He is quietly a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's under the radar a little bit, and I think that this is
smidge.
It's a wonderful fit. So I see that actually the next line you have on here is Danielle Hunter to the Texans also. This team is built, other than the Chiefs, because the Chiefs don't make any sense in the playoffs. But if you throw them out, this team is built to make a deep playoff run, if not win the Super Bowl this year. They have that on paper. They have that skill set, and the way that CJ Stroud looked last year, if he doesn't have a sophomore slump, this is going to be a really hard team to beat this year. Especially with the additions of Joe Mixon. And they had some injuries on receiver. I think Nico Collins and Tank Dell I guess it was maybe just Tank Dell. Or was it Nico too? I can't remember. They had some wide receiver injuries too. And they still made it to the divisional round last year. This year, the sky's the limit. I don't see any reason why they can't be the 1 seed in the AFC. I mean, listen to my terminology. I said I don't see any. I said I didn't see any reason why they can't be the 1 seed in the AFC. I
heard you loud and clear, big dog.
I did not say that they will be the 1 seed in the AFC. What? Who?
You heard it. You heard it here first. Ren Smith calls the Texans the 1 seed in the AFC.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
We weren't supposed to get to crazy takes until later in the show.
You know what? You can make that. You know what? If you really care that much, you can make that my wild take. You can make that my wild take.
I didn't have to. You did it for me, sir.
I didn't even say that. I will let you assume that I said that. That is my gift to you. But I did not.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you.
So now you can roast me going forward, and we'll watch the Texans win 8 games this year. Wonderful.
Wow.
There's no way. Did you see that? Unless CJ Stroud suddenly is a scrub, there's no way that's not a contender again. No way.
It's hard to argue against. I mean, on paper, it's hard not to be excited about them. But it's the NFL, man. Like that's a tough league. We just talked about the Titans might be something. Technically, the Jaguars still have Trevor Lawrence. You
had to preface that with technically.
Technically, they still got Trevor Lawrence.
Technically, Trevor Lawrence is still employed by the Jaguars.
We also, we haven't talked about the Colts today, but I mean, there is a lot of reason for optimism within the Indianapolis organization. Like, if Anthony Richardson comes back and he's a dog, I mean, Michael Pittman's that guy. Jonathan Taylor's coming back healthy. That defense was crazy. I mean, they just damn near made it to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. Like, the Colts, they got Shane Steichen, the man who had Jalen Hurts looking like the next coming of Jesus. The Colts have reason for optimism. So, I think it's okay to kind of sort of pump the brakes on the Texans. Just because they got it on paper doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition. We just had a discussion about dream teams.
No, I agree. I didn't say I think they have the pieces and they could get it done. That's all. That's
I don't think anybody can argue with you on that point.
No, but I mean, you were trying to.
I was trying.
Oh yeah, I made a statement. You roasted me for it, and now you're saying that statement is hard to argue with. So why even bother going through this whole charade of roasting me in the first place? I just have to ask.
For the spirit of debate, for the sake of debate, like I don't know, for the sport of it.
I understand. I'll let that slide. I'm just I'm just fired up. You can that's my hot take. I'm calling it right now.
Texans are the 1 seed in the AFC.
I'm gonna say that's a wild take, and it shouldn't even be that wild. But I'm gonna make that my wild take at the end of the episode. That's what I'm gonna say.
With Pat Mahomes in that conference, that's a wild take.
Pat Mahomes, the Chiefs don't win the
And-
1 seed.
Sam Darnold went to the Vikings, and Austin Eckler went to the Washington Commanders. Are the last two under the radar moves that we have to talk about?
We don't need to talk about the Vikings. We've talked enough about the Vikings today.
We did talk enough about the Vikings. I do think Sam Darnold's going to work out. That's the only note I got there. Austin Eckler to the Commanders. How nobody is talking about this is beyond me. Austin Eckler has one injury-riddled campaign, and all of a sudden he's, chopped liver. We just saw the exact same thing happen with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, hashtag that guy, had a hamstring or a shoulder for one season, only played a few games. Everybody was like, bro, this guy probably washed. I don't know if we could do it with Christian McCaffrey, like blah, blah, blah. Comes back, fully healthy, hashtag that guy. Why can't we expect the same thing from Austin Eckler? Like, I'm not sure what's going on right now.
I'm not a believer in the Commanders in general. That's the reason that I would say that it probably won't happen, because part of it is a product of the system. The 49ers have all the pieces right now, and you plug McCaffrey in there, he is that guy. You plug McCaffrey in there, and he thrives in that system. That's
if
sort
I
of
may,
set up to be successful.
McCaffrey came back to the Panthers, and he was doing dirt with the Panthers too. And then the Panthers traded him to the 49ers. He continued to do dirt with the 49ers. Obviously, it looks a lot better because, you're with the 49ers, but he was doing the same thing with the Panthers when he came back.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying you put a guy into an inferior system at this moment. I mean, I think the Chargers were a much better setup for him at that time in an offense with Justin Herbert at the helm. You've got and I mean, their receiving room is something of interesting discussion that can still be had at a later time. But why we're talking about Eckler to the Commanders, and I'm trying to bring in Keenan Allen into the discussion somehow, but it's just very off topic. But anyway, again, it's one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it. I think this might be a retirement home for Eckler in a bad way, actually. I know you're much higher on the Commanders. You think Sam Howell's a top 5 quarterback, and I don't want to take that away from you. I don't want to burst your bubble, but I don't think that team is that good.
Sam Howell got traded, bro, and Jaden McDaniels is going to be starting.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Jaden McDaniels. No, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, gosh. Okay. That's how long I haven't been paying attention. Yeah, you should find a different co-host, my guy.
So if y'all weren't aware, the name of this podcast is Football Clowns Anonymous.
I'm
football
Ren.
clowns gather.
Hi, I'm Ren, and I'm a football clown.
Hi, Ren. Goofy, my bro. And this guy's out here trying to give you advice on anything. Shame, sir. For shame.
I have no defense, but regardless, we'll see what we'll see what happens with that. I still feel like it's an inferior organization, and they have been for.
I definitely will not argue that point, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is just that Austin, like to write him off this quickly, I think is hashtag disrespect. So we're just I just can't bring myself to do it.
No, I'll give you that. I think he's still good. I'm just worried about him being able to produce in a system that in a Division II also with those matchups where they might be down 21 points at halftime in a lot of those division games, and they're not going to want to be running the rock at all. They're going to want to be slinging the pill, and anyway,
they could be up. I mean, they always play the Eagles tough.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
division games.
The NFC East is different. It's just different.
The NFC East is a 2-team race, and it's 2 teams that are going to win 5 games this year. But
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, two teams are good.
Yeah. I was like, I know you did not just like the Eagles like that. Okay.
2 teams are going to win 12 games.
We almost just shut off the podcast.
Nope. Yeah. Oh yeah, we made it 1 episode. Curtis called it a wrap.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's going to bring us to the end of our our sort of trade segment. This was supposed to take 30 minutes, and I think it took 60, but that's all right.
That's what we do.
That's what we do here. I'm gonna make an executive call here and say that this team analysis that we have here is we're gonna spend the next 2 weeks, or I think it's the next 2 weeks. We're gonna talk about the teams in detail. All of these discussions that we're having about these players are gonna come back in those discussions. And so I think we should move the team analysis to when we're gonna talk about each team in that.
I can get on board with that. Yeah.
So we'll have an opportunity to bring this sort of analysis back in, and we've already talked a lot of team analysis, even though we weren't supposed to in the previous one. So the only other two things is that we have is everybody or both of us are going to make an absurd prediction. But the first thing is which player, and we can make this quick. What player are you most excited to see on a new team and why? And I'd like to start with you, actually, if you have an answer queued up.
It's easily Saquon Barkley. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Eagles fan, Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, offensive line, even without Jason Kelce, as an easy one for me. Go ahead, Ren.
Okay. My answer is not a player we've talked about today, actually. And it's because it's kind of a technicality because they were not relocated this year. They were relocated last year. And as a Vikings fan, it pains me to say this. I am most excited to see Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets because we did not get to see Aaron Rodgers play for the Jets last year. And I want to see, as an NFL fan, just like Brady going to the Bucs, where he won another Super Bowl.
That's a good answer.
I want to see Aaron Rodgers with that defense. Can he do it for another team? Is he too old now? That's another part of the question. But I want to see what they can put together with that defense and with that guy at the helm. And they're going to beat the Vikings in London, and because it's Aaron Rodgers. But I'm genuinely curious because I think seeing how the Jets played with essentially no quarterback towards the end of last year, seeing how the Jets played with essentially no quarterback, makes me wonder how they could have played with a quarterback. So I'm genuinely curious.
No, I have no rebuttal. That's a great pick. I mean, there was not in just the stadium, but just around the NFL in general. When Aaron Rodgers went down with that Achilles, it was just kind of that sucks. Like that, we all wanted to see it. Anybody who says otherwise is a liar or does not pay attention to football seriously, because we all wanted to see what was about to happen. It's the same because we were like, was Tom Brady's thing a fluke where he went to the Buccaneers and he was able to go in there, establish this thing, win a Super Bowl? Is Aaron Rodgers really like that? Is he going to pull off the same thing? There was a lot of fun questions that we really wanted to see, and it just did not happen. With that Division 2, we got the Tua-led Dolphins, we got the Josh Allen Bills, Tyreek Hill's in it. Come on, dog. That would have been great against the Patriots, beat up on them, because why not? That would have been crazy.
Yeah, because they deserve it. That's why.
They deserve it. That's what you get for establishing a dynasty.
Exactly. You had 20 years of success. Now you get 50 years of pain and suffering. You deserve it.
Even though they did come from the dark ages to get into that dynasty, but
that's true. Yeah. No, we're not dealing with that. Okay. Last thing we're gonna do. One wild prediction: the Houston Texans are gonna have the 1 seed in the AFC. You heard it here first from me. And I might even throw $1 on it.
Wild prediction. I did not put any thought into this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna say the Titans win the AFC South.
Damn. You're just doing that because I said something about the Texans. You're doing that because the Texans have to win the AFC South to get the 1 seed. You're doing that just to slight me. I know you are. All right.
That is accurate because I did not put any thought into other thoughts, and that one sounds like a lot of fun. Because I bet those games are going to be nail biters. Honestly, the AFC South is going to be one of the more entertaining divisions to watch this season. For sure.
It is. I think it is. I might also throw $1 on the Titans under 6.5 wins, just to spite you.
Okay.
All right. Well,
okay.
yeah, we're way over time. So anyway, thanks for joining us. If you're still here, you are probably the only one. Yeah, next week we're gonna start talking about team by team win predictions in the NFL going into the season. In a couple weeks, we're gonna have our good friend and associate Ryan Harp on the show. We're gonna do some actual betting for futures picks for this coming season. And yeah, if you are watching us on YouTube, give us a subscribe, and hopefully we'll have social media for you to do the same thing at some point as well. Again, we're Football Clowns Anonymous, and signing off.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
Thanks, Kirk.